Welcome to the Long COVID Awareness Day. How many of you were aware of this fact? Nobody. Okay, that's good. I'm in the right groove then. So yes, officially today is the Long COVID Awareness Day. I will put an actual link in a second as soon as I rekindle. There we go. So I'm putting that in. So please check this out when you have a minute. So that's the website. So this is for, at least for now, I'm assuming it's going to be March 15 every year. And then, of course, with that, there's been a lot of news out there. And so the first one I'm going to put in there showing a sort of a basic prevalence, which is pretty terrible. At this point, we have at least 18 million Americans with long COVID who are not improving whatsoever. So they basically debilitated, and most of them will apply for disability. So it is pretty scary data, because if you think about this, how many people previously were on disability out of working adults, it's going to be a single percentage digit, not double, but that's going to dramatically impact overall workforce in the United States of America, beyond just the fact that obviously you have millions of people suffering continuously. So that's a first update. I'm trying to find an article that speaks about this, and for some reason I'm struggling, so maybe I will get to it in a minute or two the moment I figure out where the link went. So that's the first news. Now, the second, I want us to, I promised you that I will be tracking information about do the vaccines indeed decrease risk of long COVID, since we're talking about long COVID today almost exclusively. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this particular link to the Lancet study in the chat, and we'll talk about this in a minute. And also, this is the link to more recent, no, that's not it. Yeah, so let's talk about this article first, and then I'll come back to my other thinking. So this is a study from January, so I don't know if I missed it or if I went over it too quickly and then decided at that time it wasn't worth it. So the importance of the study is about 50% of the long COVID could be theoretically prevented by the vaccine. Now, this is not a control. This is a very large observational study in UK, looking at about 1 million patients plus minus, and saying that if they have gotten the vaccine, what is going to happen going forward. And then they observed quite a significant decrease in risk of about 50%. So, the problem here is very basic. The problem is that we're looking at the original set of vaccinations, the vaccinations that are no longer in use, and also vaccinations that, that basically was the first wave of long COVID, which we know was a lot more likely. Upwards of 20% of all the patients who developed COVID in the first 2 years were getting long COVID, and those symptoms were more severe. So the patients who we've been seeing with long COVID developed in the last, say, year and a half are getting significantly less severe long COVID, and as such, it's not clear how much of that the vaccine is going to prevent. Now, what I really wanted to show you, in addition to the study, again, I'll come back to that, is the CDC data, which we'll talk about that in a second, because they actually also published this study and some other assessments. Now, why is the study does have importance? Well, if you think of it this way, how could this happen? So how could vaccine prevent long COVID? Because we already discussed in the past that the vaccines do not decrease significantly risk of getting COVID. They decrease massively severity and hospitalization. But if you were following me, I also was saying in the past that we don't have a clear data saying that the milder the COVID, that's likely you're going to get long COVID. There's no actual data for that. So so why is the vaccine has such a significant potential decrease, at least in the past, of decreasing long COVID? I think it had to do with the one simple fact that actually the reality was, in the beginning of pandemic, when the disease was more severe, there was just a lot more long COVID. So I have a feeling that what the vaccine did earlier, it simply screened out all of the patients who were to, and now they will not get this long COVID. It simply screened them out of that pool of patients who were getting long COVID. Plus, another problem is this is a pretty uniform population. This is the England, it's a UK study. They didn't look at the rest of the world. They just did study on their own population. So, very difficult to extrapolate, but it's a data. Now, let's look at what CDC is now demonstrating. And you have to give me a minute. If you have a time while you're waiting, please put questions in the chat. Because I found the link and then I must have closed it by accident. Okay, so here's the as soon as it opens up. Okay. So, CDC is not in a business of giving alternatives how you're going to prevent long COVID. So they obviously had to analyze all of the incoming data, looking at what do vaccines do. So, here they basically saying, basically, yes, there's some data on that. Actually, I'm not sure if that's the right link. Give me one second. I realize I gave you general long COVID prevention link and not the one that has the data. Okay. And now I have a hard time finding that link for whatever reason. Okay, I'll give you this link. It's a Scientific American link. Again, this is the link summarizing the study I just presented back from January, so it's not up to date. What I wanted to show and find is there's a government page that basically gives the statistics. That was the interesting part. And basically saying that the best statistics were from this Lancet study showing 50% reduction. And the more current data is from smaller studies showing reduction of about 20 to 25%, which is significantly less, but it's still there. So, 20% reduction in long COVID from the vaccination is a data. Now, does that change what I recommended to everybody 2 weeks ago? It feels like 2 years ago. 2 weeks ago, when we talked about the new CDC guidelines that people over 65 should be getting vaccine every 6 months. No, it does not. I think they're still completely misguided. I think CDC is simply following political and financial agenda and not actually science. I think everybody should still get the boosters once a year, but not necessarily more often than that, unless you have a very specific risks. For example, you have active cancer under treatment with immunosuppressants, you have transplant with immunosuppressants, or if you have some other illness that your physician decided that you need to get shots a lot more frequent for because of the faster decrease of immune response. So that would be an individual different scenario. Why am I saying this? Well, first of all, again, there's just no data to say that compare the different timing. There's no data saying that 6 months versus 12 months, here's a controlled trial. Basically, all of the data they're extrapolating based on the graphs and based on their understanding of how natural immunity and vaccine-based immunity is following, without the studies to say, okay, because of that, we're going to do every 6 months, every 4 months to try to prevent long COVID. Again, until we have the studies proving that, I'm not going to shift my opinion because it's just too, Now, you should be asking them, okay, well, what about the Novavax, right? So the Novavax vaccine is the vaccine that does not have mRNA. It's a DNA vaccine. Should it be safer? Theoretically, the answer is yes, absolutely. So in that case, let's say you're wanting to get another shot within 6 months, right? So then if you had mRNA vaccine before, if you were to go for something, my suggestion would be go get the Novavax, because you would be potentially diversifying your coverage and not boosting the immune system in the same way you boosted it before. Why is it beneficial? I don't know if it's additionally beneficial, but what I do know, it's probably going to be less risky. I am not, this is my opinion. I'm not stating this based on any studies because there isn't any, and I don't expect any studies to that effect for at least some time. So that's my take on the long COVID day. You have a link on that study. If I dig out during Qigong, the actual link to the CDC that I wanted to post, that gives you the link and references, and also different studies showing different risk of different decreasing risk after the shots in terms of long COVID, that I'll post that. Let me screen the questions. Okay. There's a question personally to me, but I'll read it. I think it's okay to read. So Cecilia is saying that she was able to get a booster from CVS. The booster is the same, correct? So that's another thing. So the booster that you got in the fall is identical to the one you're going to get now. You know, and if you decide to do that, be aware of that. You're not going to get an updated. There is no updated boosters yet. The Novavax vaccine is different from the mRNA, different from Pfizer and Moderna, but it's not updated either. So it's still the old vaccine back from whenever it first came out. In I believe the Moderna came out, Novavax came out about a year ago. So I believe it's the same, not updated one. Okay, so let's see what else we have. Yeah, so I'm saying, Robin, that I recommend booster COVID vaccines for everybody once a year, unless you have a very specific immune problem. Again, I listed some of those concerns. I disagree.
And being over 65 isn't a specific problem.
Absolutely not. To the CDC it is, but I completely disagree with that. I understand why they came up with this recommendation, and again, I think it's wrong. Bulking every 65-year-old under the same umbrella, saying they're all the same, is, to me, just doesn't make any practical or even biological sense. So, okay, so how long? This is a really important question, so we're going to talk about this. How long after an active COVID infection should a senior get a booster? Great question. Thanks, Linda. So, it's a much harder question to answer. I still probably going to say 12 months. Why? Two factors. One, the actual COVID infection, natural immunity is much stronger than the vaccine immunity. I talked about this. If you don't believe me, go to my YouTube and analyze that, and look at the study that I analyzed at this point more than a year ago. But I think that study probably still stands true. I'll give a link to that. But basically, when the study carefully compared natural immunity to vaccine immunity, natural immunity was much better. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be getting boosters, because everything declined. Both boosters or the vaccines and the natural immunity declined over time. It's just the natural immunity declines slower. And it looks like at the 10 months mark, they didn't go to the full 12 months, but at the 10 months mark, the natural immunity was still quite sufficient. That's why I'm saying go and do it every 12 months after either the shot, the prior shot, or if you had an active COVID. So let me give you an example. Let's say you had a booster in the fall, which would be, let's say, September, right, when the updated booster came out. If you have not had any COVID, go ahead and get that next shot somewhere close to that first one, to the one in the fall. If you're traveling, let's say you're traveling in August, or let's say you're traveling in July, you may opt out to get it sooner. Why? Well, because when you're traveling, your risk is going to go up, right? And you're as close to that 12 months mark that I would say probably worth getting it before, and then resetting the clock and then waiting another 12 months. But let's say you had a booster in the fall, and then let's say in February you got a COVID. I actually would start the clock from the February and then mark another 12 months from there. So then the next booster for you would be February 2025. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we have question-wise. How long after? Okay. Interesting study on a case of hypervaccinations. Turn out vaccine don't stun immunity, although this was just one crazy person's. Yeah, I don't think I'm worried about extra vaccines decreasing. There was an idea that if you hyper-vaccinate, if you take too frequent of the shots, you will drop protective benefit completely. I'm not as worried about that. I'm worried about autoimmune conditions. We are seeing a dramatic spike in autoimmunity in population. There's a belief that it's definitely linked to the vaccinations. This was expected. A lot of, I may have mentioned that there were some really highly respected chiefs of departments of different institutions making those statements that, look, we're most likely going to increase overall autoimmunity prevalence just by the fact how the vaccines work, how mRNA vaccines work. They're general immune boosters, not only boosters to specific, so they have broader impact versus the DNA vaccines. So if that's the case, then it's an expected result. That's why I'm more cautious, but not necessarily that I'm somehow worried that if you take 2 shots a year, that you will be less protected. No, that's I think that's not. I wouldn't expect that. It's a good question. Okay, your experience with the long COVID patients is completely normal. COVID or GI long. So we're seeing what Linda is referring to goes like this. We are seeing significantly more patients with the new variants starting in the fall in the summer, let's say 23, having GI symptoms. And some of those patients have those GI symptoms for weeks and months. So almost qualifying for long COVID based on just the GI symptoms. We are seeing that actually most of those patients' GI symptoms improve or completely resolved after a month or a couple of months. So I actually do not put GI symptoms currently into the category of long COVID symptoms just because we're not seeing sufficient frequency of such patients to make that into something significant. I think that most of the symptoms are still staying between the fatigue and what we call POTS, or postural orthostatic hypertension, where people have dyspnea and change in heartbeat when they're moving, making it difficult to exercise, and basically this kind of inability to boost the exercise program. You try to exercise and then you crash. You exercise, you crash. So that's really still the number one risk of long COVID, number one frequent long COVID symptoms. Plus, of course, cognitive, the brain fog, the concentration deficits, cognitive fatigue, those things. So what I'm saying is that was not a Pfizer rep. This was a chair of rheumatology from the University of San Francisco giving us a lecture and saying they're seeing dramatic increase in lupus attacks in their population after vaccinations. And so that's what I meant, that there are senior reputable physicians who are working exclusively with patients with autoimmune conditions who are seeing dramatic increase in those conditions. And the thinking is that those vaccines are doing this. And of course, just like anything else in medicine, the question is it worth, not being vaccinated and getting a COVID? Because it's pretty clear if you get a COVID, your chance of having that autoimmunity is even higher. So we will be seeing this, but we will be seeing this anyway, and we will be seeing even more of it if we don't vaccinate. So we basically don't have a choice here. We either don't vaccinate and expect even more complications, or we vaccinate and accept some risk of vaccinations. That's where it stands. It's not a good reality, but it is what we have. So I think I'll give you guys one more minute to see if you have a last question before I pass on to Rob and to lead us into talking about energy, Qigong, and giving us a little demo today. Okay, well, if you come up with more questions during the time, put them in the chat. We'll see if we'll do them next week. Thank you, everybody, and do be mindful of long COVID day being today. Thank you so much, Robin, for coming. Wonderful to have you. Please take over.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I heard that you are also a Qigong enthusiast. So my name's Robin Carnes, and I have been a part of your community a few times in the past, and I appreciate being invited to come back. I've been a yoga teacher for 30 years, and especially in the worked with active duty military and veterans for many, many years, and started a nonprofit to help yoga teachers and meditation teachers know how to teach into that community in a way that would lower barriers and increase the acceptance of these mind-body practices that are so helpful in regulating our nervous system and helping our immune functioning and all these things that these practices do. And I actually started teaching Qigong and practicing Qigong while I was teaching at Walter Reed in an acute PTSD training program. And I found that kind of much to my surprise, the patients who were active duty people with acute PTSD and traumatic brain injury were kind of more open to trying Qigong than they were to yoga. Now, both are awesome, but I noticed that they seem to be a bit more amenable to trying it. And I think that had to do with, because to me, the movements in Qigong are very playful. And instead of like, oh, how far can you stretch a muscle? That's not what Qigong is about. So now my main passion is teaching Qigong 3 days a week on Zoom from 8:30 to 9. I call it Qigong with Robin. It was born during the pandemic, and it's just kind of kept on. And it's a way for people to get these short dosages of Qigong into their lives, while they're still in their pajamas, or, right before they leave for work, or whatever they happen to be. So let me back up a little bit and say that a bit about what Qigong is, and then we'll practice together. Because for sure, the experience of feeling qi moving in your body and noticing what that feels like, and learning to what it means, what the signals and cues in your body are telling you about the energy in your body and how it's doing, how well balanced it is, how kind of drained it is, or how supercharged it is most of it, like being able to feel what's happening. And that's what Qigong develops our capacity for, interoception, the ability to feel our system and respond skillfully and with care. So Qigong is thousands of years old. It comes from China, and it's still very much alive and actively being developed and created all over the world now. I'd say there's kind of a wave of interest in Qigong coming into this country now, just like, 20 years ago, there was a wave of interest in yoga. And I do think it has something to do with the aging of the US population, because Qigong, at least for my aging body, I have found it to be more, let's say, I'm less likely to injure myself doing Qigong, much less likely to injure myself doing Qigong. So Qi means life force energy. So just like, the light bulb needs electricity that you can't see, but it is what turns on the light. We have electricity running through us, life force energy, and that is called Qi, Qi. Gong means skills. So G-O-N-G. So Qigong means life force energy skills. Now, the more I learn about Qigong, the more I'm kind of, my mind is boggled that we don't teach kindergartners up these skills to manage and take care of our precious life force. Because if we don't have energy, basically, if we don't have any energy, we're dead, we're done, in this lifetime anyway. But if we don't have energy to go about pursuing what's meaningful to us, being with people that we care about, being able to be creative in our lives with whatever's coming through us to create, then again, like, life is so dampened by that. I actually have a very close friend who has long COVID, and it has been very intense learning for me to see She was a super active person, and now taking a shower is a big day for her. And this has been, it'll be 2 years in May. And I can't see that, honestly, she seems like she's getting any better. So taking care of our chi is, has everything to do with the quality of our lives. And so chi runs in networks through our body. Like, you can think of rivers, networks of rivers through your body. If you've ever had acupuncture, that's the same thing. Meridians is what the pathways for chi that chi moves through are called. And so when you have an acupuncture treatment, they're working with your chi. They're putting those needles into your meridians for specific purposes to bring more balance, opening up a kind of shutdown pipeline of chi, or kind of tempering a super blasting pipeline of chi. In Qigong, we are practicing to facilitate an optimal flow of qi through our system. So we don't want a fire hose that's kind of blasting and everything else kind of suffers or doesn't have as much qi going to it. And we don't want a trickle. We want all of our meridians optimally to be having our rivers flowing with abundant qi and in a balanced way. Qigong addresses the root cause of basically all physical and mental illness. And in fact, there's no distinction between physical and mental illness in Qigong. It's just, there's a physical corollary for everything that goes on in your emotional life, and there's and vice versa. Where qi is blocked or partially blocked, or where it's excessive, we're likely to feel discomfort or even pain, and it may eventually even develop into some sort of condition or disease. What causes qi imbalances? Well, our whole culture is pretty much out of balance qi-wise. It's like foot heavy, pedal to the metal, most of the time, and that's what's called yang qi in Qigong. And not much resting, and not much being still, and not much being quiet, and not much sleeping compared to what we're biologically really need to be healthy and well. So our culture can affect us. Experiencing collective or individual trauma can affect us. Our lifestyle, what we eat, how much we drink, how much caffeine we consume, how much we exercise and sleep, all of those affect our qi flow. Let's see, what else do I want to say about this? Qigong is gentle. Well, just like yoga, there's like a zillion lineages and styles of Qigong. Qigong is the mother umbrella of Tai Chi. So Tai Chi is a type of Qigong. There are medical Qigong forms, there's martial art Qigong forms, but the kind of Qigong that I'm certified in is a very gentle type of approach. And interestingly and paradoxically, the idea is the more gentle we are with our system, instead of like, give it 100% or give it 150%, which is kind of the mindset of exercise in the United States, this says no more than 70% effort, underdo it, actually underdo it. Like, that is like magic to my ears as a super overachiever most of my life. And I've also really hurt my body pushing it. The less strain, the more gain. And the idea behind that makes a lot of sense in that when our body's intelligence knows that we're pushing it beyond the signals and cues that the body's giving, like, this is hurting, oh, this doesn't feel good, and we just keep going, the chi, the meridians that through which the chi flows, actually shut down, and our muscles tighten, because we're trying to protect, our bodies are trying to protect and brace against this overriding, this like, I'm going to do it my way, or it won't be any good for me if I don't do it, as just like the teacher does, or just like that other person in the room does. We all individually know when we're getting those signals and cues like, oh, this is enough. And I want to really encourage you to listen to those signals and cues. And in fact, what will happen, and it definitely has happened in my body, is that when my body trusts me that I'm not going to push it into any pain, the flow chi opens up even more, because it doesn't have to brace against that maybe I'm going to hurt it. So we actually get more powerful results when we underdo it. Very countercultural message. Qigong is seasonal. It helps us be in harmony with whatever season we're in, because we are nature, and it helps us to connect with that we are nature and be in harmony with what's happening in nature. So the practice I'm about to offer you is a spring-oriented practice of what's happening in spring. Well, things are rising up, from the long winter nap, they're rising up. So we're going to practice with spring energy. And basically, I think that's all I need to say, except that you can feel free, depending on how your body is doing, to sit through this and just do the arm part and with your legs moving but seated. You can imagine doing the movement, and it also brings benefit of chi flow. There have been so many people in my classes that have told me they're recovering from surgery or not feeling particularly well on a given day, and just imagining doing the movement moves the energy in the meridians, but without overtaxing you. So feel free to sit any or all this practice. Now, before I begin, I wanted to see if anybody has any questions about what I've said so far, and feel free to come on mic. Anything? Okay, so if you're new to Qigong, enter into this with a lot of playfulness. There's nothing at stake. We're just kind of exploring. If you've done Qigong a million times, enter into this with playfulness. There's nothing at stake. It's just see how it feels. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start with us in what's called Wuji position. But again, you could be seated for this. Feet are about shoulder width apart. And the first thing we want to do is kind of make our body like it is a pipeline for chi, because it is a pipeline for chi. So we come into this position where we remember, oh, I'm an open conduit for chi. I am available for chi flow. I am available for a lot of vitality and a lot of energy. So find the tip of your tailbone and point it down to the ground. And bring your hands in front of what's called your lower danchen, a couple inches off your belly. You'll lose a little bit of your curve of your lower back when you point your tailbone down. And I'll also ask you to lift the crown of your head, or lift the back of your skull up and draw your chin slightly back. And before we start moving, I'm going to ask you to attune. That is this is the instrument that you're playing. So listen to the strings of your instrument. This is the metaphor, right? How's your system feeling? How is your system feeling? Are you feeling creaky? Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling very energetic and top of the world? Just notice. And as you notice, it's not an evaluating or judging noticing. It's a kind, friendly, we're in this together body way of noticing. Drop your breath into your belly. And then imagine your arms were made of cooked spaghetti, and begin to twist from the waist and let your arms just flop around on your body like cooked spaghetti. You can make soft fists of your arms. Your hips stay forward. Your knees stay apart from one another, just the way they were before. And the twisting is happening, originating at the waist, and then up the spine from there. So there are many types of movement in Qigong. That's part of what I love about it is variety. There's tapping, there's self-massage, there's sounds, which these things written on my screen are. There's flowing movements, there's staccato movements, there's just every kind of movement. It's so wonderful. So we're starting off by just letting the spine warm up, and that spine, along the spine runs the super highway of Qi, the meridian that runs up the back of the torso. Breathe. Tune into yourself, tune into what you're noticing. You might want to go slower or faster than I am. And then let that come to a close, and inhale and exhale. So at the beginning of most any Qigong practice, we do, after we attune and tune in, so that we can take really good care of ourselves, we purge, we clear stagnant Qi out of our systems to make room in the meridians for fresh Qi to come in. And one of the ways we do that is tapping. So we're going to start with tapping the hands together. And if there's anything I do that doesn't feel good in your body, just don't do that one. And then come back for the next one, all right? All right, now I'm gonna have you tap your navel. Again, this is like getting a little acupuncture treatment. We're doing it with the tapping, and just below your navel, about 2 inches below your navel. Now, I'm going to tap the deepest part of the curve of my lower back and just below my navel as I pump my legs like this. This is called drum the gong. And as we do this movement, we're going to do a cleansing breath. So we're going to inhale through the nose and long, slow exhale through the mouth. Helps move out stagnant Qi. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. One more time of that cleansing breath. All right, and let's slow that down and then take a moment just to feel how that feels. And then just let me know when I should end, okay? Come on, Mike, and tell me what time you want me to end so I can land the plane on time. Okay, so let's do some more tapping. We're going to do the side down the outsides of the legs. So in each season, 2 meridians are highlighted that are particularly important in that season. We are highlighting the liver and gallbladder in the spring. So the gallbladder meridian runs down the sides of the legs. Feel free to bend your knees as much as you like. Come up the insides of the legs. And then let's go back down the outsides of the legs. And up the insides. Excellent. Now, let's tap the inside of the elbow. Inside the other elbow. And we're going to tap from the shoulder down the inside of the arm and up the outside of the arm. And we'll do that 3 times. Down the inside, out, up the outside. One more time. Awesome. Now, take your other hand to your other side of your shoulder. Tap down the inside of the arm. And up the outside. Inside. Outside. Inside. Outside. Okay, take your fingertips and tap your occiput, the base of your skull, with your fingertips. And then take your hands over to your right side. So I'm not going to be mirroring you on this one. And gently tap your liver. And then take your hands over to your other lower side ribs and tap your stomach spleen area. Then take your fists and tap your sternum. Get some of your heart points. Okay, and inhale and exhale. So we're just like you get up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you take a shower, you brush your teeth. We're cleansing the system to get it ready to receive fresh qi. Now, let's do a little bit of shaking. It's one of my favorite things in Qigong. So I want you to imagine that your arms, legs, and torso are made of different, are balloons, long tube balloons full of Jello cubes, okay? And all the Jello cubes want to meet every other Jello cube. And so we want to jiggle and wiggle. We want our belly to be able to jiggle and wiggle. We want our thighs to be able to jiggle and wiggle. Triceps and biceps, very jiggly and wiggly. Everything wiggly and loose on the body. Let your breath pick up, if it probably will be. And you might even come up so that you're on and off your heels a little bit. And we're going to do this for just like 90 seconds. One of the functions of this, super helpful for our nervous system, is just like a dog or a zebra or a horse will shake after it has kind of a frightful experience and cortisol, adrenaline are released into its bloodstream. It shakes to kind of reset, all right? And we are also large mammals, and we can shake to reset our nervous system. So find a gentle way that feels good for you, and let all those Jello cubes rub elbows. And stop and notice sensation. So the sensations you may be noticing are like vibrating, pulsing, tingling, all the feelings of qi on the move. All right, let's inhale and exhale. So let's get a little sampling taste of these 6 healing sounds. And I don't have time to go into too much about what the source of them, the rationale behind, but each one corresponds with a different major meridian and organ in the body. And it helps to release stagnancy or held energy and emotion, which is also energy that we haven't fully processed and released. So I'll spell these as we go through each one because you won't be able to hear me doing it. Zoom will filter it out. But let's do this. We're going to do this with another movement. So we're going to, first I'll show you the movement, which is called spinal cord breathing. So we're going to bring the elbows down. I'll just show you sideways. I'm doing a little bit of a back bend. I want to keep the back of my neck long and the chin drawn slightly in. And then I come forward and I'm just curving my elbows into my belly. I inhale up. Make sure you keep the back of your neck long, chin drawn back, and exhale. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose on this one. Okay, so let's go into the 6 healing sounds. The first one we're going to do 3 times is S, 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 like a snake. Inhale through the nose. S, 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 S. Releasing fear from your body. Next one is sorry, that was grief. Releasing grief. The next one is fear, CHWOO, associated with the kidney, and CHWOO. Inhale. Last time. Next sound is SHHHH. It's the sound for liver. It releases like impatience and anger. Next one is HAAA, the heart sound. Also releases anger and hatred. One more time of the HAAA. Next one is WHOOO, and that releases anxiety and worry. That's the stomach spleen sound. And then finally, this sound, HEE, helps release panic that might be held in the body. Now that's the last one. Let's inhale and exhale. Feel your feet. Notice what shifted or changed. Notice how your body's feeling, the cues and signals that you're getting. Breathe down in your belly. All right, let's play with some more movements now to circulate the chi. We've kind of cleared out the stagnant chi, activated, strengthening the chi, and now we're going to help circulate the chi. So let's start off with hands here at where the thighs meet the torso, palms up. We're going to inhale, the body drops, the palms flip, and palms come over the head. And at the top of the inhale, pause, and then exhale, palms down. Body rises. Pause with the breath out. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. Pause. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Bring one hand above, flex the wrist and point the palm toward the ceiling. The other palm is facing the earth. That wrist is also flexed. Okay, we're going to press yin and yang. This is called pressing yin and yang. So we're going to drop down and cross the arms over and then press them like isometrically away from one another. Drop down and press. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Just know that if you're chatting, you're putting stuff in the chat for me, I won't be able to see it. So if you want to come on mic, you certainly can if you have a question or anything. I can't see it when I'm this far away from the computer. Okay, so now we're going to do that one a little bit differently. Instead of pressing this way vertically, we're going to bring one hand in front of the body, tailbones pointing down towards the floor, one hand in front and one hand behind. So there's a twist going on here. Then we come back to center and twist again. Inhale, exhale. Look at the back of your hand. Inhale, exhale. This one's called looking at the moon, like the moon was in the back of your hand. And come back to center. Pause for a moment. Tune into your system. Notice the cues and signal your body's giving you. Bring your hands up when we're going to go into a circulation flow. First movement here, wrists flex, palms facing away. Arms out, palms up. Pull back. Push out with the heels of the hand. Pull back. Press down between your legs. Gather up earth chi. Come up your center. And we're back where we started. We'll go through the movements one more time, and then I'll tell you the breath, thinking of the breath. So here, palms up, pull in, sink the chest. Exhale, press out. Inhale, pull in. Sorry, I added the elements of the breath here. Now go down, gather some earth chi. Doesn't matter how far you go, and come on up. And now we'll go into exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. And this is the last time. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, come up, and just stand for a moment. Crown open, feet open, receiving chi from below and chi from above. And let's just take one more moment to integrate by bringing the arm up, drawing the chi down into this lower dantian, our chi battery. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Hands on your belly, step your feet together and just stand in stillness for a moment and notice the effects of this chi medicine, this beautiful, free, available, abundant life force energy. Notice how it feels in your body. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to come on mic. Or I'll check to see now that I'm a little closer. Are the sounds vocalized or just air out? So they are vocalized, but there's no like strong consonant sound. It's more just, it is more of a air going out shaped around those consonants is the best I can say. And Zoom won't let me make the sounds, but I'm happy. I will send to Jeanette a 6 healing sound video clip. And I will also send her a sample class, like a free class that's 30 minutes long. That's typical of what I would do in my classes. So I can send that. And qigongwithrobin.com. If you look that up, QUIGONG, I'll put it in. And if you're interested in jumping into the current month of classes, just let me know and I will give you a little discount for having been here today and encourage you to start next Monday. They're Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8:30 to 9 live. And then I also record everyone and put it online so that you can have it anytime. Any other questions about the... Okay, a lot of questions about the 6 healing sounds. Okay, let me go back here. And do we need to end right now, Jeanette? Should I put the answers to these maybe in the...
No, go ahead and answer.
Okay, hold on. I'll go back here. All right, so I asked that question about the sounds vocalized. So it's largely the vowels. And then on the S, like a snake, and the sh is like just gently shing a baby, you know, if it was crying. So it's I'll send you the recording of me doing them. They can be a great thing to do when you're falling asleep at night to just kind of clear out any emotional any emotional energy that you've taken on during the day that it might be getting in the way of you going to sleep. So I'll send that to you. So the locations of, so SSSS is associated with the lung and releasing the sound, the residual or unprocessed grief or sadness. Now, again, emotions, we have them. They're for a purpose. They tell us something. You know, each emotion has a purpose. These sounds are for when we haven't fully processed an emotion and it's, you know, issues in our tissues. It's held in our bodies, right? So it's not that the emotions, we need to feel them, but if we weren't able to feel them fully, for whatever reason at the time they happen, they can get lodged in our system and shut down the flow of qi. So the SSSS is the lung and it's associated with grief and sadness. CHWOO is the kidney and it's associated with fear. And moving, actually, each one has a virtue that you can move towards in working with it, but I can get into that now. So SHHH is the sound for anger and impatience, releasing that from the body. And that's the location is the liver. The chu sound is the kidney. Ha is the heart. And there's a lot of Qigong that relates to releasing excessive heat from the heart. And that is very related. Excessive heat is very related to like inflammation throughout the whole body, but all the emotions go through the heart. And so keeping your heart, you know, not overheated and clearing out any stagnancy is very helpful for heart health and emotional health. So heart has to do with releasing hatred. The WHOO is the stomach spleen, and it's worry and anxiety. And the he is associated with a meridian called the triple warmer that's, you know, integrally related to our nervous system. And that is releasing any panic that may have been held in your system. So hopefully that answers that question. You know, it's a deep subject, but where can you find my morning class? qigongwithrobin.com. And okay. All right. Well, so thank you. And thank you for letting me go over a little bit. And thank you for inviting me to be here.